It's time to welcome Mark Dirks, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at Blue Grace Logistics. Mark, thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's good to have you, and I'm excited to talk with you about this topic because I think when it comes to freight and kind of like building relationships, we focus a lot on the numbers, right? Of course, we talk about numbers and metrics all the time, but we're touching a little bit on some of the soft aspects of relationship building when it comes to a 3PL and how that can really help build your business out a little bit better. So let's get into it. Let's talk about some of these soft skills that really make or break a business.
Yeah, this is a really important and interesting topic because it goes directly to the performance of supply chain logistics programs, right? And with that said, the relationship that stakeholders have with their suppliers matters more today than it ever has in the industry, given the current market conditions and current market cycles. And when I say stakeholders, I'm thinking about customers, I'm thinking about carriers, I'm thinking about employees. And research shows us that when you have better relationships that go beyond the standards and the norms, you're going to achieve more trust, you're going to achieve more confidence, and thus your programs are going to perform at a higher level. Now, in supply chain and logistics, there are large factors. People think about relationships in terms of strategy, in terms of execution, in terms of contracts, right? Agreements on how we're going to do business. And this is where I think there's an opportunity for all of us to lean in and have a deeper discussion around what are the other soft factors that go into relationships that can add additional value, that can add additional insights, and that can help us become more competitive and have and gain a better competitive advantage in the marketplace. So that's kind of how I would define, what are these soft factors that contribute to deeper relationships and better outcomes and better results between stakeholders and providers.
Yeah, Mark, welcome to the program, by the way. But Mark, myself, I love the new technologies, right? I love new technologies in my home life, in my personal life, in my business life, et cetera. It's awesome. I don't have to deal with people. Things just work. But when it doesn't work, I want to talk to somebody, right? I don't want to go to a blog and put in my question and see if somebody else figured this out for me, that type of stuff. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, building those relationships, using that technology, that integration, and making sure you're bringing that added value. How do you, as Chief Marketing Officer, how does Blue Grace, how do you bring that forward in a day where everybody's looking for what's your latest technology? How do you bring that to the forefront and show that as here's the benefit?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect setup to talk about, some of the categories around like what are these soft factors. And I'll start off with what you pointed out, communications. Okay, now more and more research that we do at Blue Grace and more research that I read within the industry and outside of the industry indicates that communication is a growing, it's like a top 5 trend for relationships to be at their pinnacle, to be at that high performing level. And when I think about communications, I think about like, what does that mean? What does communication mean? And I think in the past it meant, hey, can you just let me know where my freight is, when it's going to deliver, and when there are going to be disruptions, right? But I think what the future holds for us regarding communication is much deeper, much more broad across organizations. And when I say that, I think about how are we connecting with our stakeholders, with our customers, with our carriers, on things like, company updates, new locations, new leadership, changes within our organizations. Are we getting our IT people together, and are we sharing our roadmaps on the technology and the platform side? But it's a communication function. Are we having roundtables around our cybersecurity and digital teams? Are we doing continuity planning together as a group, not in silos between stakeholders and providers? Are we introducing our people leaders and our people teams and talking about hiring strategies, recruiting strategies, our training programs, all of those things, right, that we can connect that we can connect with our stakeholders, driving value across the organization. What we're looking for as we deepen and we go further down the communication perspective, right, is better results. Better business outcomes is what everyone is after, and stepping up your level of communication can really do that. The next thing that kind of leads into visibility. We've all heard visibility throughout our time in supply chain. In that, hey, can you tell me where my freight is? Can you tell me when it's going to deliver? But how do we go beyond that with that soft factor and more value, and lean in more to visibility of our data, right? And what can that data tell us? How can we get visibility at the order level, not the load level or the shipment level, but how do we get further back in the supply chain to understand at the order level what our supply chain costs are going to be by order? How can we look at our data and see things relative to visibility as it comes to opportunity and opportunity costs, right? Where could we have done better, and how much did that cost our business? So there's some visibility soft factors that drive value there as well. Another thing I would talk about is like market updates. I talk to customers all the time, and they're looking for market updates. And when I talk to them, I say, where do you go for market updates? They say FreightWaves, and they say other media avenues as well. But one of the things customers demand in the kind of added value soft factors is updates, market updates, and intelligence from their providers. Mm-hmm. And what they're looking for out of a brand like Blue Grace, they're looking for what the practitioners and what the operators have to say, right? The people that are actually doing the logistics work and solving the key logistics problems, they're interested in what they say. So while we are, gathering information from a media perspective or from a marketing and communications perspective, the customers are looking for these original thoughts from the operators, original thoughts from the practitioners to add more value to their business. And then I probably would end here with like thought leadership, right? That kind of leads into what levels of thought leadership can a provider bring me that I'm not paying attention to today? And then what can I learn from that thought leadership? I don't want a sales pitch. I don't need to know about more product or technology, per your comments before. But what can I learn about strategies, processes, and technologies in areas that I don't know or I'm less familiar with, or that are so complex I might lean in and see value in that out of a third party and a deeper relationship.
And even some similarities in the application of these soft factors when it comes to not only generating leads for your company, but also for generating recruiting and retention for your company as well, and kind of contributing to that internal company growth.
Yeah, I mean that's a big factor that everyone is challenged with, is the people side of our business. There's all ranges of job roles within supply chain and logistics, from day-to-day execution folks all the way up to supply chain engineers, and then again on the technology side and the platform and the application side. So being able to connect with your stakeholders on the people side, being able to share best practices, being able to work together to build teams around the supply chain needs of an organization. Those are very powerful things. They're soft things, but they add a lot of value to the relationships, and generally they lead to higher performing programs with better outcomes and better business results.
Excellent stuff, Mark. Really appreciate you being on the program today. Where do people go to learn more, and if they like what they're hearing from Blue Grace, where do they go to find out more?
Yeah, I mean, you can visit mybluegrace.com, or you could connect with any of the number of Blue Grace offices around the U.S. I would just say, also in leaving, there's a number of tools that stakeholders can get access to. And if you think about Blue Grace being a leader in the LTL market, right? There's a number of commercial tools that stakeholders can take advantage of, things like density calculation, simulators, self-service technology through the Blue Ship platform. One thing for larger shippers that need more robust rating engines, Blue Grace has its own LTL rating engine that can rate thousands and thousands of quotes and lanes in sub-seconds, and those are the kind of things that you want to look for, right? If somebody is using a third party, most third parties use other TMSs, right, to do their LTL rating, and so there's three parties involved, right? There's more risk, there's more downside to that. Whereas with a Blue Grace and others, you will get direct access and cut out one of those third parties and the risks there. I would also say indexes, right? Look for LTL service indexes. Look for fuel surcharge indexes, and use this information that's out there to drive more value in your discussions and as you're deploying your strategies across your organization.
All right, Mark, thank you for joining us. Great to have you as always as the folks from Blue Grace Logistics. We'll catch up with you guys again next month.